Hello, everyone. My name is James. How's everyone doing today? So, today I'm going to be teaching you or showing you how to ship with AI. And just a little bit about myself. I'm a coder. I've been coding for like 20 years, most of that not using AI, of course. I learned the hard way through books, W3 schools, online tutorials. And it's really only in the last few years that I've started coding with AI. And I also teach. So I teach in person and I teach on YouTube. So in the past year or so, using AI tools has become a huge part of my workflow. So if someone here is, I can't see how many people are watching, but if people here are using AI tools, I'd love to see in the comments what AI tools you're using as a part of your workflow. Myself, I have reviewed or compiled a list of over 100 AI dev tools. That didn't just happen in the past few days, but over the past year. It just started, sometime last year. I was researching what are the AI developer tools out there, and I started this list. And so this list started as a few tools, as a GitHub repository, and now there's hundreds, more than 100 tools on here. And part of what we're going to do today is we're going to kind of look at, okay, for someone who's a new developer, or is just overwhelmed by this huge amount of tools that are possible that you can integrate into your workflow, like what should you use? I'm also going to go over the pitfalls of coding. Also going to go over the pitfalls of coding with AI. So what are the mistakes that AI developer tools can make? And then I'm going to demo some of the favorite tools that I used and I have been using in my workflow. So probably everyone here has heard of Cursor, and that one's been super popular over the past few weeks. But it seems like every few weeks or every couple of months, there's another tool that's blowing up. So actually, I've been preparing this workshop over the past couple of days, and the reason why is because it just seems like every few days there's new stuff to show. And one of the tools that I'm going to demo actually just was released 3 days ago. So what are the different types of AI developer tools out there? There's so many different form factors for how to integrate AI into your development process. So the first big one was code completion with GitHub Copilot, which has already been out for a couple of years. Then you have coding assistants, which became really popular with the rise of ChatGPT. People started integrating chat everywhere. And so you could sort of chat with an assistant to get help writing code. Then there's UI generators, the most popular of these. So the idea of a UI generator is that it just generates, for example, a front-end component or an entire front end for your project. Very popular one is V0. And then there's sort of as an extension of that, there's some tools which are attempting to generate entire applications, which may be the most ambitious. Then you have, all the boring stuff, documentation, version control, and testing. And so in my list, I've really gone over all of these types of tools. Now, the most popular ones, the most common ones, are code completion and coding assistants by far. And I think everyone here will have used some of those. So another way to break down, what kind of AI developer tools exist would be, what type of application is it? Is it an IDE? Is it an extension to an IDE? I think there's dozens of VS Code extensions now, but then there's just a handful of IDEs themselves. Maybe 3 or 4 are forks of VS Code. There's a lot of web platforms, V0, as I mentioned before, is an example of a web platform, but also Replit. Then there's command line tools, and then there's tools which integrate directly with existing platforms like GitHub. So this kind of framework helps me to think about, because people talk about this space all the time, like, oh, is it similar to Copilot? Is it similar to Cursor? It really helps me to think about, like, what exactly type of tool are we talking about? Because there's so many different kinds of developer tools out there. So before I get into the specific tools and how to use them, I'm going to quickly mention, what kind of things should you watch out for? What pitfalls should you look out for when you are coding with AI? Because just like a human programmer, they make a lot of mistakes. And if you're not used to coding with AI, some of these mistakes might catch you off guard. So the first most common mistake that I see when coding with AI is basically referencing files that don't exist. Another is using code from a library, but the version of the library that it's using is outdated, which happens obviously because LLMs aren't consistently kept up to date. Another thing is like leaving placeholders, like in comments. An AI dev tool might insert the rest of the code here when you expected it to fill in the full code. If you're working in like a larger project, it might not know the structure of the project, so it might get the file paths wrong or put files in the wrong location. Then there's just like logical errors, like it might just make code that's just incorrect. And then the final thing that can happen is, it might not understand what it is that you're trying to make. And then that often comes from, not specifying what you want concretely enough. So on to the next part, what are my favorite tools that I'm coding with on a day-to-day basis, or that I've used and I really like. So obviously, Cursor is one of the most well-known tools out there. It's an IDE, and I'll show that to you for a few minutes, show you how you can use it. One that is, and one that's really popular with, Cursor is a little bit more popular with people across the board, different experience levels. Aider is something that's a little bit more popular with more experienced developers, given that it's a command line tool, but it's probably the strongest open source competitor to Cursor. And I'll give you a demo of that in a minute. Then one that's very tuned for beginners is Replit, and Replit runs entirely in your browser. So a couple more, and those are the three that I think I'll probably demo today, unless people have specific requests. But a couple others that I think are really interesting that I would want to mention, sort of in my top 5, are V0, which is a tool where you can generate React components for your front end, and then Pair AI, which is a fork of VS Code, just like Cursor, but the source code is available for you to look at, unlike with Cursor. And so I think right now it's the strongest competitor to Cursor, where you can actually read the source code of it. And of course, the full list of this is available on my GitHub. Just ignore this @ here. It should just be github.com/James Mirza. So onto the specific tools. So let's have a look at Cursor. Cursor is really good at understanding an entire code base, and it has a pretty useful interface. As I mentioned here, it's not free, but you can use it for free with a OpenAI or Anthropic API key. So here I have, one sec. So here I have a project, and I'm gonna open that in Cursor. All I have to do is just drag my existing coding project onto Cursor, and Cursor is going to open that right up. And normally I would expect to see, let me close everything up. I think I had something else open. Here, let me open maybe the app directory. Okay. So I needed to drag this app directory, which was the root directory of the project, which I previously created. And I want to show you the project real quick before actually working on any code. So the project now, I think, is running on my local host, and it's just a template. It's a template SaaS product, and I downloaded this from OpenSaaS, which is a free Node.js based template you can use to make a product out of. So looking at this template, if I kind of scroll around, there's a pricing page, and the pricing page has 3 different sections. So I thought it would be interesting to see if we can change the pricing page, maybe add another tier using AI, and we could try and do this with a few different tools. And we could start with Cursor because that's a very popular tool. So and then we're gonna try that with different tools, and we're gonna see how it works, in the different tools. So in Cursor, you have a few different options to edit with AI. One is Command K, and that's for generating code. But in this case, I want Cursor to add a tier to this pricing section. And actually, I don't want to have to look through all of the source code files. As you can tell, like there's a lot going on here. I know where the file is, but I don't want to have to go find it. So I'm going to use Command L, which is Cursor chat. And so there's sort of a chat feature here on the right side. And we'll just start by saying, like, where is the pricing? Where is the pricing page? And now, just because I've tested this before, it doesn't mean that it's going to work here in the live demo. But never know. And so one thing that's really important to notice when you're using this chat is that you'll see here it said, like, I apologize, I don't have any information about a pricing page based on the empty file you shared. So when you're first using this, it's really easy to miss, and I still miss that there's 2 options here at the bottom. One is chat and one is code base. So what I really want to do is code base. And what that means is that it's going to use an index that it's automatically created of my entire code base. And it's not just searching through the files by text. It has actually chunked up the code in each file, and it has made embeddings. So it has created sort of a database organizing the code by meaning, which we can search through. So as you can tell, like, this works really well. As a human developer, searching through all of these files and finding the pricing page, well, I'm pretty experienced. I think I can find it in a couple of seconds, probably using the search feature in VS Code. But this is really impressive that the AI can do it, and it can know exactly where it is. So as you can see right here, hopefully this is sort of big enough to see, but it has detected the right file, and I can click here to open it up, where the pricing tiers are stored in the code. So I just like to say, add another pricing tier. And let's see what it does. So by the way, I don't work for Cursor. I don't have any connection with this company. It's just a tool that that's very popular, and I like to show people how to use the different types of tools out there. Now, since I don't have okay, here we go. So now what it's done is it's sort of proposed some edits that I can make to the code. And one thing that Cursor does really well is here you can just normally, and it's not entirely consistent, but normally it's very good at inserting the existing code. Yeah, see here there's an apply button here, and you don't always have that, but if you look carefully, there's an apply button, and it's very good at applying the changes. See here, you can apply it to a certain page. So I'm going to click continue. We're going to see if that works. So this is probably the best thing about Cursor. It's taken all of the output from the chat model, and it has figured out how that fits into the context of your existing code. So now you can accept or you can reject these changes. Now, I don't have enough time to keep going with Cursor. I really want to get to the next one. So I'm going to go back to my outline so I can really get on to the next one. And the next one is Aider. So as I mentioned before, strong competitor to Cursor, not as strong when it comes to writing code, but it's fully open source. And I think it's really important that there are open source tools like this, because as developers, we like to work on our own tools. So how would I do the same thing that I just did in Cursor? So first, I'm going to open a new terminal window. Let me find that terminal window, drag it here onto the screen, and I'm going to locate the app project here. And now here I am in my terminal, and let's make sure that we're in the git root. So I'll type in git status. Perfect. So that means that we do have a Git repository. And it's important to have a Git repository when you're working with Aider. I mean, it's always important to be working with version control, but specifically Aider uses this so you can always back up and see previous changes that you've made. So now I'm just going to type Aider, and that's going to open the assistant in the project. Now I've already set an environment variable with my OpenAI key. That's a must when you're using Aider. Another thing that you have to do in Aider, which was much easier in Cursor, is I have to choose a selection of files that I want to put into the context in Aider. It's pretty good at working with many files, but it's not like they don't recommend to add all of your code base into Aider at the same time. So in this case, I'm going to add, within the app folder, there's a source folder, and then in there's a client folder. And then this sort of contains, the code for the front end, the front facing product. So if I do that, hopefully, now in this case, it looked like it added a bunch of fonts. So what and that happened before when I was testing it. So I think what I really want, and so it's kind of, you want to add the right folder. So I think what I really wanted to do, clear, so you can do clear. And this, now instead, I'm going to add the source, client, you see what I did before. It was source / client / and now here I'm going to do / app. So hopefully that, no. So it's important to make sure that you have like exactly the right paths here. So I want to add app/source/client/app. And so it requires a little bit more of knowing, which files are in your project and what's the structure of the project. As you can tell, like the experience here, if you're an experienced dev, it's good, but as a beginner, this would be a little bit more confusing because you have to know what the directories are in your project. And so now I do the same thing. I say, can you add a pricing tier to this app? So it's going to scan the whole repo, similar to Cursor. And then it's going to, start it's going to use an LLM in the background, and it's going to start applying those changes. The interface here is pretty good for a command line tool, as you can see, and it's come up with the correct change, and it's using Git to track all of the changes that it's made, which is pretty cool. So that's kind of what working with Aider is like. And I just want to go back to the structure to go to the next tool, which is Replit agent. Now this one came out 3 days ago. It's very specifically for making Python Flask apps, and the code is run within Replit. So just to show you real quick what this is like, because it's pretty cool. You're working in the web browser, and I can say, make me an app that lets me take a picture of a tree and identify the tree. Replit agent is in early access. It will do its best. And that's what it does. It does its best, and often it works surprisingly well. I did this exact same task yesterday, and it took me 20 minutes to half an hour of responding to the agent chat and working with it. But I didn't have to write any code. What it does is it writes the code here in the browser, and then on the right side, it sort of gives you a chat, and then the chat will say something like, okay, I've added the button to take a picture of a tree. Can you take a picture of a tree? And is it working? And then you'll say either yes or no. If you say no, it'll say, can you check the error logs? Can you copy and paste what was the latest error log? And et cetera, et cetera. And that sort of helps you to build the app together with Replit, while still you get to see all the code, but in general, you don't have to write any. And that works pretty well because Flask is, a really good framework for prototyping apps quickly. Now it looks like this is not working right now. I don't know, maybe they're having a ton of usage right now, but that's okay because I'm gonna put up a video later of how this one works, and you can find that one on my channel. So that is so those are three tools that I use that I wanted to show. And of all of the tools out there, I have really enjoyed kind of playing around with them, and I've also kind of got an idea for what I feel is missing. And one thing that I think is missing is like an open source platform where you can also kind of build apps and edit code in an editor in your browser. So that's sort of a project that I've been working on the side. This is a fully open source project, and it's called Sandbox. And a lot of and here I can even show, on my GitHub, this is the source code to the project, and this is an in-browser AI editor. And I've been working on this with some really smart guys, Ishan, Akhilesh, and Victor, who have written some awesome code to make this work, but I'd like to just close by showing you this project, which is in beta, although publicly available, and just sort of as like a preview of what the future of coding with AI might look like. So here I can choose, so first I'll go to sandbox.getwit.dev, and then I can sort of decide what kind of project to make. And so I'll make a Streamlit project, and I'll call this demo. And so what this is going to do is going to create a sandbox in the cloud where you can use AI to build and also to use AI agents to write code. So when I click run, that's going to start running this existing project. Now, it starts with a very basic template. And for me, that's one of the most important things when you're new to coding, is to sort of have a set of really good templates on hand that you can always start from. Because while some of these tools are really powerful, the code that you generate with AI is really only as powerful as the base code that you start with. So, here's a here's a base of a Streamlit app, and what Sandbox lets you do is it lets you to test your app in the browser without downloading or installing anything on your computer. And this is for free right now. Anyone can just try this and host their projects. But so this also has an AI editor built in. So I will select the code, and I get this sort of edit code option here. So I'll just write like make a financial dashboard. And what's great about this is that it works with Python that we're using right now. So let me accept that. Now that just wrote all of that code just now. Now we can save it, and that will update the preview on the right-hand side. Now in Python, when we add new libraries, we sort of need to add them to the requirements.txt. So I'm going to save that here. And right now, you still have to sort of restart it to get it to reinstall this. So now it will install the new package, and then it will sort of refresh the server right here. So once that's sort of restarted, we should see the app that we just thought. Oops, and I have to add NumPy as well. So I asked it to create a financial dashboard. As you can see, it installed NumPy right away. And not sure why that didn't work exactly. Let's see. We have this sort of terminal in here, so I can sort of see what's in the requirements.txt. I could add NumPy in here, but I guess for this demo, I guess we're pretty much out of time, so I'll have to leave that for you to try yourself. And yeah, so this is called Sandbox, and it's an open source platform where you can write code with AI and host the projects online. So that's it for my workshop. And yeah, if you want to see more content or more tutorials that I'm putting out, just check me out on YouTube. My handle on Twitter and LinkedIn is all the same. So thanks everyone for joining, and hope you enjoy the rest of today's workshops.